Hey, you! Before you watch this, pause the video and subscribe to SemiPro right now.
What's going on YouTube? Ryan back again with another video. Today, we're talking Ohio State football. The Buckeyes came into the college football playoff last season as the 2 seed, and they were very competitive before falling to Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl. The Buckeyes lost a lot of talent on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So the main question is, how did they replace them? And what does their roster look like now? Over the offseason, Ohio State lost 3 first-round picks, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, and Damon Arnett, their Heisman caliber starting running back, J.K. Dobbins, almost their entire receiving core, and multiple other starters on the defensive side of the ball. One guy that Ohio State didn't lose was Justin Fields. He finished 3rd in the Heisman voting and had one of the most impressive stat lines last season, throwing for 41 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. He's the second best quarterback in the nation and is looking to give Trevor Lawrence a run for his money, and there is definitely no competition for who's going to be number 1 on the depth chart at this quarterback position in Columbus. The lead rusher, he isn't there anymore. J.K. Dobbins left for the NFL draft and left a very large shoe to fill. He rushed for over 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns last year. A lot of that production will be replaced by Trey Sermon. He was the number 1 running back at Oklahoma last year and decided to transfer from Norman up to Columbus to a much more balanced offensive attack where he can get more touches. But don't sleep on Master Teague as the backup. If for no other reason than he may have the best name of all time, but do not sleep on his production. As a backup last year, he was 7th in the Big Ten in rushing yards, and now should see a larger role with J.K. Dobbins gone, even though he is still the backup running back. The position group that needs to be almost completely overhauled are the pass catchers. Benjamin Victor, KJ Hill, and Austin Mack all graduated last season. Chris Olave is going to be the number 1. Last season, he led the team in yards and touchdowns, and should easily step into that number 1 role if he wasn't already considered one already. Garrett Wilson will also be returning production. He was a depth receiver last year and could step into the number 2 role, but he may be rivaled by some incoming freshmen. Ohio State went hard in the motherfucking paint going after receivers this recruiting cycle. They brought in 2 5-stars, the first of which is Julian Fleming. He is the number 1 receiver in the nation and the 3rd highest recruit overall. He could see a huge role right away. They also brought in another 5-star with Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. But they didn't stop there. They also brought in 2 4-stars, G. Scott and Mookie Cooper. The names on this team are just utterly immaculate. Master Teague, Jackson with an X, Smith, and Jigba, and Mookie Cooper. And that's just only on the offensive side of the ball. The defense wasn't addressed nearly as much as the offense during the offseason, and that might be an issue because they lost both starting cornerbacks, 2 starting defensive linemen, 2 starting safeties, and a starting linebacker. Jonathan Cooper is going to keep his starting job on the defensive end. He isn't the talent of Chase Young, but he will take over his spot with help from Zach Harrison and Tyreek Smith as the pass rushers. The beef up front is going to be Tommy Togiai and Haskell Garrett. Neither of these guys are going to impact the game too much. They're all just pretty solid and versatile players. The linebacking group isn't as clear-cut. Pete Werner is going to be the best of the group, and he's going to be the leading linebacker. He's the leader of this unit, and he will be joined by Tuff Borland. The 3rd linebacker is a little harder to predict. Throughout spring practice, Ohio State has been mixing it up. Right now, the frontrunner looks to be Baron Browning, but Justin Hilliard, Dallas Grant, and Kayvon Pope all have a chance to see significant playing time. The cornerbacks are going to be the most interesting position group. Shawn Wade is clearly the number 1. He decided to stay for his senior season, and he will be the top corner on the depth chart. Sevyn Banks will probably be the number 2, but there isn't really a solid answer at the number 3, and it's completely up in the air. Cam Brown and Marcus Williamson have the best shot, but there are some other guys who could be rivaling them. Josh Proctor and Marcus Hooker should be the starting safeties manning the back end, neither of which were starters in 2019, and both need to step up in a big way in this back end of the Ohio State defense. Overall, this team's just very good, especially offensively. This team might have the best offensive roster in the entire country, but defensively, there are a lot of question marks. I wouldn't say the defense is lacking by any means, but when you have 2 guys drafted in the top 3 of the NFL draft, that is a lot of production that you need to replace, and I don't know if they did the best job of doing it. But this defense will still be good, they'll still stop guys, and they're still going to dominate the Big Ten. The offense can counteract this defense, and that is really the main reason why this team comes in at number 2 in most preseason polls. This team is legit and has a very realistic chance to be in the college football playoff once again.